I'm Viggy Parhampton, and welcome to Tag Team Tales of Terror, where another horror author and I work together to create something short and diabolical. Today I've tagged Ben Farthing. Most recently, he's the author of the smash success The 31st Trick-or-Treater, and his supernatural horror delves into liminal spaces, strange mysteries, and horrifying journeys, which is definitely on display in his extremely popular I Found Horror series. Welcome, Ben.
Hi, thank you.
I know that was very brief. What did I miss?
Um, that's the important stuff, right? That's what people want to know.
I suppose
uh,
so, yeah.
you throw cosmic horror in there too. A little bit of
Cosmic horror, yeah. Mhm.
um,
Well, thank you for agreeing to be on Tag Team Tales of Terror.
yeah, absolutely.
Let's get into the rules. So, this is a progressive story where we will alternate telling bits of the story until we reach some sort of satisfying conclusion. And we'll each get 30 seconds. I'll have a timer, and it'll be in the corner here. And you can get us started because you're my guest, which I know is the harder job, so I'm sorry. I will have a prompt I pull out of this awesome hat, and you might want a pen and paper to jot things down. Sometimes it's helpful. And we're aiming for about 10 minutes. But if the story needs to go longer or shorter, that's fine. And then after putting you through that, I have a little surprise for you.
Cool.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Right. Any questions before we get started?
Where did I put my pen?
Sadly, that is not one I can answer.
Okay, I'm good. I've got a good memory sometimes.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's draw from the hat. Okay. You got just found out your best friend is a killer.
Is it killer?
Is a killer.
Okay.
Okay, tell me when you're ready and I'll start the timer.
All right. Give me like 15 seconds to
Okay.
think. Okay, I'm good.
Okay. And go.
My friend came crashing through my front door. This guy's my neighbor, right? I've known him since we were college dorm mates. Comes crashing through my front door. He's got blood on his fingers. He says, Ben, I didn't mean to. You have to believe me, but I also need your help. So I look him dead in the eyes and say, Johnny, whose blood is that? Where are we going?
And Johnny looked back at me and said, I'm not really sure. That's part of the reason I need your help. I was walking through the woods, which, as you know, is something I really love to do. And all of a sudden, I started hearing a really creepy voice off in the distance, and it was calling for help. And I mean, I'm a nice guy, as you know. So, of course, I had to run and go help. And it led me to this mouth of a cave, and it was really dark in there, and it smelled horrible. And I could hear the voice. And so I just crept inside a little bit, and then I don't know what happened.
Oh, what do you mean? Like, you don't know what happened? Like, you were there, right? And then he says, well, I was inside by a few feet. And then all of a sudden I was outside and there was like blood on my hands. There was blood on the ground and there was these drips of blood back into the cave. So I say, Johnny, and you came straight here after that, or what happened? And he says, yeah, I came straight to you because like you said you could help.
I mean, I thought about calling the police, is what Johnny told me, but since I wasn't sure whose blood it was and I don't really have a lot of memory, I wanted you to check it out with me first because, I can't be going to jail right now. So come on, just come with me. We'll go look at the cave together and then you can, help me out. You're my friend. And I thought, absolutely not. I'm not going to go do this. I'm not going to go into the woods with you, even though you're a nice guy. How do I know that anything you're telling me is true?
And so the thing was, like, obviously he was hiding something, or obviously something wasn't on the up and up. Except this is Johnny I'm talking about, right? Like I've known him forever. So if there's something that I don't trust about him, I expect, something weird that's gonna shock me. That I'm gonna be like, oh, I get it. You were embarrassed or something. But then there's the blood. So is it really that there's something dangerous that's happened? But if there's something dangerous that happened, he's asking me for help. I, I don't think he would ever do anything to me. So I gotta go help him, right? So that's what I do.
So even though it's against my better judgment, I follow Johnny and he leads me out into the woods. We're walking through, and then he starts to say, I was right about here when I started hearing the voices. And I crane my neck and I try to listen really, really hard, but I can't hear anything besides the birds. And I'm starting to wonder if Johnny was hallucinating or, maybe smoked too much pot. I don't know what he does in his free time. But then I heard it too.
It sounded just like a mockingbird at first. You know how sometimes you'll hear like a mockingbird who's heard a car alarm too many times, and after a minute you realize you've been hearing a bird imitating a car alarm over and over and over. But what I heard was a mockingbird that might have been hearing somebody saying, help me, over and over. And then as I listened to it more, the bird song turned into actual words. Like, not quite, but they were definitely words in that noise.
And Johnny looked at me and said, "Ben, you can hear this, right? I'm not going crazy." And I said, "I mean, yeah, I hear it. I don't know exactly what it's saying, but I do hear it." So Johnny looked really relieved, and we went deeper and deeper into the woods. And as I looked down, I could see drips of blood here and there. And I was starting to get really, really nervous. I wanted more than anything to leave, but I also had to know what was making that sound because if somebody needed help, we had to help them. There was nobody else out here.
So we stand at the cave and listen. I'm like, Johnny, you said the voice was coming from inside the cave, right? He said, yeah. But as we're listening, the bird song it's kind of all around us. There's like something off to the left, behind us, maybe past the cave, up the hill some. But I do not hear anything coming from the cave. So I look at Johnny again and I'm like, hey, you're telling the truth. And he looks at me and then looks right past my eyes, like he doesn't want to make eye contact with me and says, yes.
And that's when I realized that whoever this was, it wasn't Johnny. And I could hear the birds coming from behind me, and the words were getting clearer and clearer and clearer. And before I knew it, Johnny had shoved me into the cave. Everything was dark, everything smelled like rotting meat, and he was breathing down the back of my neck. And all I could think was, I have to get home. I have to get home. I have to survive this. I have to find the real Johnny because if this isn't Johnny, then what happened to him?
And it looked like I was going to have no choice but to find out because as I turned around and tried to push past him, the guy swung a rock right towards my face. I managed to duck back. It barely brushed my cheek, scratched me, but I could still move, right? But now my exit is blocked. I can't get past him. He's swinging a rock at my head. I got to run. I go deeper into the cave, pull out my phone, switch on the light. Obviously, this gives him a view of where I am, but what else am I going to do?
I really wish I hadn't switched on the light, and not just because the Johnny creature can now see where I am, but all around me are bodies everywhere. There are bodies mostly of animals, but I'm pretty sure I see a person or two. And I think I recognize somebody who was reported missing just a few days before. And then, before I can close my eyes and shut all of it out, I see the real Johnny, and he's hanging from the ceiling.
The grief like hits harder than you think that it will because Johnny's one of my best friends, but he's still, he's somebody that I've known, but he's not part of me. And right as I'm like about to break down out of fear, out of shock, out of I don't know what to do, Johnny hanging from a rope by his wrist looks down at me and says, "Oh, thank God."
And I looked up at him, I said, "You're alive." And he said, "Yes, of course I'm alive, but we have to get out of here now. That thing's gonna be back any minute." And before I knew what I was fully doing, I was reaching up and trying to pull him down, but it was too high up. I couldn't actually untie the knot. And he said, "Don't you have a knife or something?" I said, "No, I was following you into the woods. I thought you had a knife." And he's just swinging there and saying, "If we don't do something soon, that thing is going to kill us both."
I look around for something sharp, like even a rock could probably saw through the rope if I can get up there, if I can hand it to Johnny. While I'm doing that, I said, "Johnny, how did you get here?" He grunts in pain while he's dangling around. Excuse me, and says, "I followed you here. What are you talking about?" And just as I find a rock with a decently sharp edge and hand it to Johnny, we hear footsteps and birdsong from up the cave.
And we both turn around and we see the thing that was Johnny walking into the pool of light from my phone. And as we both look at him, he starts to change. I can see one side of his face looks like Johnny still, but the other side looks like mine. And now I'm starting to wonder if I'm the one who smoked too much pot and that I'm going crazy. But then Johnny screams, and I know it's all real. And even as the thing that looks like both of us comes closer, I start to saw at the rope with the rock.
The strands of the rope start snapping as the rock cuts through them. The thing with two, the thing with the half-formed face reaches Johnny, grabs his ankle, and starts pulling. Johnny stretches more than makes sense, and I think there's something wrong with my head. None of this is really happening, and Johnny doesn't even seem to be in pain. Doesn't even seem to notice.
And that's when I start to wonder if I'm dreaming. But then I feel a sharp pain in my wrist because I'm holding Johnny and his fingernails are digging into my skin. And if I were dreaming, there's no way I could feel that pain. But still, the Johnny in between us is stretching and stretching and stretching. And then that's when I see that the thing that is half me and half Johnny is starting to mesh and grow into my friend and starting to absorb him.
At this point, Johnny himself realizes what's happening. He looks down and sees like up to his hips, his thighs. He's like meshed into this thing's gut and is going deeper and deeper as the thing just kind of grows in all directions, losing its shape, its human shape. He looks at me and so says, "Help!" He says, "Help me!" And it's the same noise that I was hearing in the forest. It's that bird song. It's that mockingbird call of "Help me! Help me!" And it devolves from clear words back into the song.
And I know now that there's nothing I can do for him because there's also nothing I can do for me. The Johnny thing has absorbed my friend completely, and I can feel its tendrils creeping up my own hands. And even though I try and pull and pull and pull, there is no way I'm ever going to get free. And as I resign myself to my fate, I realize that it's not just my best friend who was a killer. I'm a killer too. The end.
Yeah, that works for me.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Well, we have to title that.
Huh. Um,
Hmm.
Something about a mockingbird or something
I like
about
that.
stretchy.
Yes, both of those things, but how do we combine them? Mhm.
The stretching song of the mockingbird.
I like it.
There we go.
That ended up a lot more cosmic than I expected, but I liked it,
Yeah,
and
I
very
like anything
creepy.
from the cosmic horror.
Yeah, that wasn't so bad, right? I know a lot of people are scared to do this, but it wasn't so bad.
Yeah,
I think it gets rid of any writer's block or creative block that you might be having because you have to just say something.
yeah, yeah, that's for sure.
Well, I promised you I would have a surprise for you
Mhm.
after putting you through all of that. So, the surprise is I created a very delicious recipe just for you based on the 31st trick or treater,
Okay.
which was very fun for me because I don't know about you, but when my kids go trick or treating, they stuff those bags full of candy
Mhm.
so much. And of course, I don't want them to actually eat all of that. So, I made this recipe to use up the candy. I call them Halloween candy cookie bars. And since we're talking about the 31st trick or treater, of course, there's a lot of candy. It's Halloween themed. So it's basically like a deep dish cookie and it has all your favorite candy. I like Reese's, Butterfingers, Kit Kats, Twix. And then you should probably only have a tiny bit because you will get a sugar headache, but it's not easy to stop eating because it's really, really delicious.
Nice. Sounds good.
And I will be putting this recipe in the show notes for those who also want to upcycle your leftover Halloween candy.
Awesome.
Now, where can people find you and keep up with you and your work?
I'm most active on Facebook, so it's author Ben Farthing. And then there's a Strange Readers Ben Farthing read along group that's still alive after the 31st Trick or Treater read along. We're doing different books of mine and other books too. Um, and then my website, thedreadfarthing.com, also has a free book on there. There's a link at the top.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. That was fun.